Hello, good evening. You are welcome as you join us. So I can see lots of names here. I can see Habiba, Paul, Titilayo, Ahoy, Mary, welcome. Shei, Tosin, you're so welcome. Adesua, Adesua Isokpna. Is that the correct pronunciation? Coach Abigail, you have to
Oh,
teach me.
yes, it is.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry.
Zainab, oh, welcome. Shala, you are so welcome. Rajesh, welcome. And I believe Rajesh will be from India. Wow, you're so welcome. Kairat, welcome. Sietsi, Charles, you are welcome. Irene, hello, Florence, Pearl. And then we got Umbosu, we got Pamela. Wow, we've got Emmanuel, Emmanuel E, Emmanuel M. Thank you so very much. And I'm just going to be looking at what we've got in the chat. Good interaction. Good evening, everyone. Yep, we're just going to give it another minute or so. The plan was to start at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock on the dot. So I'm just going to wait for just one more minute. Dochi, you're welcome. Aisha, Bolajoku, Ihuama, you are very much welcome. So we've got 31 of us so far. So for those who are not the panelists this evening, you will probably notice that by default, your microphone is muted and your video is turned off. This is just to enable us to step through the evening as streamlessly as possible. We still have more and more people joining, so let's just give you another minute or so. So for those who've just joined us, if you can hear me, can you give me a thumbs up, either using your Zoom interaction or you can just use the chat box to give us a thumbs up. Fantastic. Thank you. Keep it coming. Awesome. If you can't hear me, give me a thumbs down. That was a trick question, by the way. Hello, 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 everyone. So we're going to make a start in the interest of time. We've got an hour and a half for this evening, and we're going to get through practically everything we've got lined up. So just to ensure that we're all in the right place, this evening, ICF Nigeria Charter Chapter presents to you MCCs in Conversation, and it's a fireside chat. So what does that mean? It means we're not going to be going through so many slides, and we're going to make this as interactive as possible. Now, before I actually get to the point of introducing the panelists, I want us to just have a little bit of fun. And I'd like to invite you, please, to join us at menti.com. You can either use your phone to scan the QR code we've got on the screen, or you can join by typing in menti.com into a web browser. And the code for this evening is 6593 5214. Six five nine three 5214. 5214. So thank you. When you get onto Menti, I can see some interactions already. Either give me a thumbs up on Menti or show me with just selecting the heart. Thank you. Okay. The numbers are going up. More people on Menti. So once again, you're welcome to ICF MCCs in Conversation, a Fireside Chat. This is presented to you by ICF Nigeria Charter Chapter. And this evening, you're not going to be hearing my voice all night. This evening, we've got a panel which is made up of Abigail, Isokpna, MCC, ACTC, Remi Adebonojo, MCC, EIA Senior Practitioner FCMI, and you've also got Abiola Orojo, MCC, ACTC. And yours truly, for those who don't know me, I'm Femi Odelusi, PCC. So, with your permission, I'm going to start the Menti now. At the end of this Menti, there's going to be an exam, and it's an ICF standard exam. Of course, that's a joke. There's no exam this evening, so you can relax. So, let's start. Which country are you joining us from today? Nigeria, USA, Switzerland. Let's see whether another country is going to take over from Nigeria. So we can see that some are responding in chat. We've got India, South Africa, and we've got Nigeria. If it's possible, to make it more fun, more interactive, can you join us on Menti? Just to have more interaction from yourselves. Ireland, wow. So the Menti code is 6593-5214. Thank you. Okay, any more? Got 21 responses so far. Lagos, Nigeria is still winning. Nigeria is still winning. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we're going to move on to the next question. Now, thinking about where you are, your country, what's your absolute favorite meal in the country where you live? Let's keep it going. Wow. Okay. We can see lots of responses here. Beans seems to be quite popular. Jollof rice. I'm looking for something that is unique. Lasagna. Wow, wonderful. I get that in chat. Lasagna. Amala, ewedu, and gbegiri. It makes me want to eat right now. Now I've got something that's even more interesting. Roast chicken and Malawian rice. I'm going to look for somewhere to place an order, and I'm going to make sure I try it this weekend. Beans and dodo. Oh my goodness, we've got one here that says Nigeria. That's interesting. I'm curious about what is fascinating about beans that makes it quite popular. So many entries here about with beans. Interesting. Gari and donut, and groundnut, not donut, groundnut. Vegetable soup with fish pando. That's quite interesting. Let me just scan the audience to see whether I can guess who's putting which food on the list, but that will come later. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're going to move to the next question. Okay. This question relates to your membership of ICF. Are you currently an active member of ICF? Sixteen responses so far. Let's keep it going. Any more responses? If not, I'm going to move on to the next question. Thank you so much for your participation so far. I can see that we still got more people responding. 23 so far. And it's going, and it's gone. Okay, fun question. Which ICF chapter do you belong to? Nigeria, quite popular. Who's different? Who is different from Nigeria? Aha! ICF North Dallas and ICF Nigeria. South Africa Charter Chapter. And ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to just mention that we've got the president of ICF South Africa Charter Chapter in the house. A big round of applause for him, please. CSC, I believe. Yes, CSC, that's correct. CSC. A big round of applause for you. Switzerland in the house, and we have also got Kazakhstan, South Africa, Delhi in the house. Wow. Delhi NCR. Thank you so much. South Africa and all others. Thank you so much. So we are truly global this evening. We're truly culturally diverse. We're truly, representing the whole of the ICF families. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now I'm going to move on to the next question. I think we're about exhausted on that one. So this refers to your credentialing. So some people have credentials, some people do not have credentials. Oh, by the way, I've just heard that ICF Ukraine is in the house as well. Thank you. So please make your selection with your credentialing status. So for anyone who's got an ACTC credential, they would most definitely have another credential to go alongside with it. Okay, let's just wait for a few more minutes. Quite a number of PCCs, ACC, no credentials. Interestingly, no one's credential has expired. And I think on the basis of that, let's give everybody a round of applause that we're not letting our credential expire, because we work so hard to get that credential. We shouldn't allow it to expire. Okay, so I'm going to move on now to, that's the end of the mentee at this point. So I'm going to go to the slides, and we're now going to get going with our presentation for the evening. Okay, so I'm going to introduce you to the panel that we've got here this evening. Okay, so but before we get to the introduction of the panel, I'd like to just briefly talk about how this evening's going to run. So we're going to have a panel discussion with the MCCs, as we all know. And then we're going to have a dedicated time at the end where we're going to be going through questions and we're going to be providing answers. Now, in order to make it as streamlined as possible, we're going to use Slido. So all you need to do is, just as you've done with Menti, join us on slido.com, and the code you need for slido.com is 2178328. Richard, if you can put that into chat for us, please. Slido.com, and the code is 2178328. Now, here's the thing with the questions. Throughout the panel discussions, you might be coming across some ideas that you want to ask. Just put your questions into Slido. But Slido is very good in the sense that people can upvote the questions so that some questions will be more popular than others. When we get to questions and answers, we've got Charles Okebuna in the house. Charles, can you give us a wave if you're here, please? I can't. Obviously, I have no sight of where Charles is. So if Charles is in the house, he's going to be anchoring the questions and answers for us. And he will be taking the questions on the basis of the most popular questions. And then we move to the next one and the next one till we exhaust our questions. If anybody puts questions into the chat box, they will not be prioritized. But if we have time later, we will come and address those questions for you, okay? So our preference would be to use Slido for our Q&A. Please kindly make sure that you prefix your question with the word question so we know it's a question, and then everyone has the chance to upvote questions. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, before I start the introductions, can I have another big round of applause, please, for the MCCs who are on the panel this evening? More, I can't hear the clapping. A little bit louder clapping, please. Okay, thank you so much. So I'm going to start off by introducing Abigail Isokpna. Now, Abigail is an executive leadership and team coach, and she's a strategic people advisor to boards. Now, please, as I go through the profiles, if you feel inspired, just show them some appreciation. You can clap for them. You can use the love sign, heart sign, just to make sure that they are really, really, inspiring you. Abigail has over 3 decades of experience as a multi-sector HR leader, and she's worked in diverse multinationals spanning healthcare, banking, and telecoms. She's played a key leadership role in developing HR systems. She's led cultural integration and fostered and scaled culture change. She's guided HR and business transformation, and she's elevated employee engagement with a new benchmark. She's an ICF MCC. Now, again, please give her a big round of applause. We don't get to MCC without working hard. But she didn't stop there. She also holds the ACTC, which is Advanced Certification in Team Coaching, of course, a credential issued by ICF. Abigail is a fellow of UK's Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development, CIPD. She holds an MBA and she's attended the Advanced Management Program at Oxford University. Her client-centric approach to coaching enables her clients to clarify their life priorities and discern how they can take responsibility for actualizing their potential. She coaches business executives to improve their leadership. She's currently the managing partner of International Leadership and Coaching Services, ILCS Limited. And finally, Abigail's coaching practice is founded on adherence to the ICF and EMCC Code of Ethics, and she works with clients from all over the world. So, ladies and gentlemen, please give her a big round of applause. And now I'm going to move on to Remi Adebonojo, MCC, EMCC Senior Practitioner FCMI. Remi is an executive leadership and team coach, and he has over 25 years of corporate experience, which spans management consulting, financial services, risk management, leadership development, and OD consulting. Remi is an ICF MCC, but he's also an ICF brand ambassador. He's an EMCC Senior Practitioner, and he's also a Chartered Management Institute CMI Fellow. So that makes him an FCMI. He's a volunteer accreditation supervisor for EMCC. He's an ICF mentor coach, and you got to listen to this one. He is a Forbes Coaches Council member. He holds an MSc in Consulting and Coaching for Change, which was jointly awarded by Oxford University and HEC Paris. And he has an MBA in Organizational Development. And guess what? He's also got an LLB honors in law. Remi combines strategic leadership expertise with tool-based certifications, which include Hogan Psychometric Tools Practitioner, Leadership Circle Profile Practitioner, LCP, and he's also an Everything Disc Practitioner, which he uses to deliver measurable coaching outcomes, which impacts leadership development programs. He's the founder and managing partner of Resilient, and this is where people clap again. Okay, so Resilient is a global professional development firm which was established in 2010, and Remi was the former chief risk officer for a boutique financial services firm. He has a track record of leading multi-million-pound programs. His background also covers areas such as diversity and inclusion initiatives and cultural transformation for global organizations. Remi is passionate about aligning coaching outcomes with organizational goals. Okay? And when he's asked why he became a coach, he provides one simple, unwavering response, which is, I didn't become a coach. I've always been one. I simply chose to be the best that I can be. And this is where people give him another big rounding applause. Yeah, thank you very much. Now I'm going to move on to our next panelist, Coach Abiola Orojo, MCC ACTC. As I said, she's an ICF MCC and also an ICF ACTC. Now, when we hear all these credentials, first thing that comes to our mind is, so what? And what? What else? And here it is. Coach Abiola is a certified facilitator and transformative executive and team coach. She facilitates leadership transformation And she gets involved in end-to-end consulting, training, and coaching interventions. And this is all with a view to enhancing organizations' capabilities and promoting cultural shifts so that the organizations can align their core values and behavioral attributes. In the last 9 years, Coach Abiola has worked with C-suite leaders and their teams to achieve team effectiveness. She's the director of training in Nigeria for Coach Masters Academy, which is a global organization renowned for providing approved ICF certified training programs. She has facilitated several face-to-face coach certification trainings in Uganda, in Nigeria, and in several other countries across the world. Guess what? He's an ICF accredited coach mentor and has supported over 250 students on their journey towards becoming credentialed coaches in the last 4 years. She is proficient with the interpretation and debriefing of various 360 feedback tools, which have been deployed as management development tools in organizations that she has worked with. So once again, can I ask you to give all 3 coaches a resounding applause? Thank you so much. So, this is the point that you want to make sure your mentee is ready, because we're going to start the conversation soon. And I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. Oh, okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to make sure that we've got our panelists right in front of me. Allow me to hide non-video participants, please. Okay, so okay, here we go. Thank you so much for that. So, where do we start? Can you see me by any chance?
No, you disappeared.
Yes, my phone momentarily. Can you still hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay.
We can see you now.
Technology can be a real pain sometimes. My phone just automatically connected to Zoom. Okay, I'm with you now. Where do we want to start? I'm going to ask a question, and hopefully we can go around with everybody and have you to respond. So let me start off with Coach Abiola. I want to talk about key highlights on your journey. But before we talk about the journey itself, let's find out, why did you actually venture into coaching?
Good evening, everyone. I'm so delighted to be part of this conversation today, and I hope whatever I have to tell you would sort of resonate in one way or the other as we go along. So for me, I got to understand or to have an idea of what coaching was just by accident. And that was in the year 2011 when I visited one of the board of trustees of ICF at that time, and she put me through what coaching was. And it was just a visit that wasn't really related to coaching. It was something else that I went to see her for. And she said, you can actually be a good coach, you know. And I left her writing down in a notepad to say, get more information about coaching and see whether you can do that as a profession after retirement or when you leave full-time a full-time job. So I'm ever so grateful to Mrs. Peterside because she really was the lady that introduced me to coaching. she gave me the confidence at that time to say it's a career that you can take after whenever you want to. So I decided to take early retirement in 2015, and I went straight into coaching. I went into training for a period of 9 months in the UK. And that's how my journey really started in the year 2016. So I hope that answers your question of how I really got into coaching.
That's fascinating. Thank you so much. And before moving on to our next coach, I just want to ask another small question. When you started the journey, what were the twists and what were the turns that you encountered?
Okay. So obviously, when you as a new career for me, there was a lot of money to be spent. You really had to invest financially into that training. The first thing was that I had to move to London, stayed there for 9 months, went into training for personal coaching, which is life coaching, and also business coaching. So I actually did 2 coach certifications at the same time. And
Wow.
when I finished that, I had to also continue the learning. And that's why you can see that I had maybe on average 2.5 years in between, 3 years in between my qualification, because it was always a learning journey for me, and I just kept on going. So in terms of twists and turns, the twists were when I never got my recordings approved. I did so many recordings, especially at the MCC level. I must have done over 10 recordings, and yet
Wow.
they didn't pull through. Yes. So it took me 3 good years to do my MCC and get it right. So those were some of the twists and turns, apart from the financial demands that you had to put into it. And for ACTC, for team coaching, I also had to do the training for over a period of 3 years before even also getting that. So there was a lot of financial demand on training. You had to train first before you go for the professional exams. Thank you.
Awesome. Now, I can't see everybody, but I'm going to give you a big round of applause, and I hope that everybody's doing the same. I don't have
Thank you.
sight of them, unfortunately. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
that, Coach Abiola. Let's move on to yourself, Coach Remi. So, you have a varied background, as we can see, which is non-coaching. It spans from law to different professions, financial services. Why coaching?
All right, so thank you very much for that, and I hope everybody can hear me. And so good evening to everybody, and thanks for actually taking the time to listen to me. So you're correct. My journey has been very, very varied, but as varied as it is, there's always been one resonating factor, and that is my love, the love I have for working with people. It was actually early on in my career, in my career in financial services, people would just come up to me and ask me about what they want to do. So I'll be sitting down in a bank, working in a bank, and I'll be in the canteen, and then somebody will come up to me and say, "Oh, you're Remi, right? I just wanted to have a discussion with you about what I do next in my career." And I'd look around, I wonder, why are they talking to me? But there were certain things that came out. One, a lot of people were talking to me about it. 2, I actually enjoyed that part of working with people. I really enjoyed how it made me feel. I also found out that people actually thought I was good at it. So a lot of people, very early on in my career, people would talk to me about their careers or talk to me about what they wanted to do. And I found that I had this knack for noticing patterns, which were very obvious to me, but to them, it wasn't. And so I started doing it. At the time I was doing it, I had loads of people's CVs that I would work on and all of those kind of things. And I did not know that it had anything to do with coaching. I would have these coaching conversations, but not know that they were coaching conversations. And one day I was sitting down, and this was probably in the early, probably around 2007, 2008, and I was around 2006 actually. And I was thinking to myself, I enjoy, it gives me energy. I get energy from this, even if I've had a very, very hard day at work. And then somebody says, oh, let's discuss their CV, or let's discuss their career plans, or let's discuss what's going on in their life. I would sit up, I would get that energy. And so I thought, I like this. And I actually went and I Googled what it was. And I said, what is this that I'm doing? And the word coaching kept coming up, but I didn't like and I didn't relate to the word coaching, because for me, coaching felt like it was very touchy feeling, and I'm a very logical, very, very practical person. But I kept finding myself going back to it and back to it and back to it. And then one day somebody said I needed a coach. And I got to, and I was in a role, and they said I needed a coach, and I thought, okay, well, the company is going to pay for it, so let me do it. And I got this coach, and I had my first session with this coach, and that just made me realize that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
Wow.
And the minute I got it, the minute I found what this person, when I had that first coaching session and I watched this person work with me, I couldn't get it out of my head. And I started looking at how I would how I would do it. And so I started doing a lot more coaching. I didn't understand what I was doing. I didn't know the parameters that you needed to work around. I didn't understand any of that, but I was doing it my style. And then I got my first paying coaching client, and it was an organization, and they because I'd spoken to somebody and helped somebody in the past, they then ended up onboarding me. I became a coach, and I realized that if I'm doing this, I have to do it properly. And so I decided that I was going to take my first coaching course. I went in and I did my first coaching. My first coaching course was with a company called Ericsson, and did it, and that was it. I ended up it was from there. I just went from there.
And thinking about that journey, you just went from there. Very, very briefly, if you were to say, oh, I had an easy ride, or oh, my journey was full of bumps and ups and downs, what would you say?
I would say it was full of ups and downs, but I also feel very blessed in my journey,
Fantastic.
because the things that needed to work out worked out.
Okay.
And that was, I've always wanted to do this and do it properly. And so I was given that, I was blessed to have been given that option to do it properly. It was hard. There were bumps, but I think those bumps actually perfected my journey. Those are the things that made my journey. Those are the battle scars. The things that I faced were the battle scars that kind of perfected who I am and made me who I am today.
Awesome. A big round of applause for Coach Remi, please. Okay. Thank you very much. And let's come to yourself now, Coach Abigail. Wow. I won't tell everybody the joke I used to come up with, that when I grow up, I want to be a coach like Coach Abigail. Because when I got to know a little bit about your journey, I thought, wow, but it's not for me to tell your story. So let's get you to talk about your coaching journey, how it started, how easy it was, how easy it wasn't. Let's hear from you.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for being here. Well, my career has been predominantly HR. However, I'll say that I stumbled into coaching. What happened was a colleague came up to me one day and was talking to me about coaching. And I didn't realize at that time that she was actually sowing the seed. But I just listened and then walked away. But then you see, as the chief human resource officer of a company at the time, we had just hired somebody from abroad. And we asked him to come and do a look and see. But he said he wasn't interested, he was coming. And I was a bit concerned because to come to Nigeria without doing a look and see looked a bit strange. But he insisted once the numbers were right, he came. with his family, his wife and his children. And I'll tell you, from the day he arrived, it was very difficult, extremely difficult, upheaval everywhere within HR and his team. Anyway, he arrived at a time when the organization was also having a leadership pathway program, and we had some consultants working with us. In the program too, it was a problem. So one day, one of the consultants called me inside and said, you know what, why don't you let me coach him? Do you think he'll be open to coaching? And I said, well, I don't know, I'll ask him. And I asked him, and to my surprise, he was. Long story short, within a few months, I started to see a difference in this person, a real difference. Somehow he was steadier, he was easier to talk to, he was friendlier. And then it occurred to me that what had happened to him was the coaching. I was not the coach. I cannot claim that. However, I facilitated the coach to be hired for him. Now, for me, that was an incredible thing, the transformative power of coaching. And I said to myself, wow, I want to be able to do that. And that's how I started. Then I was lucky, my organization paid for me to go to do coaching, the course. I did the course, and then I came back. And I was lucky too, because they allowed me to coach the organization.
Fascinating. One theme that seems to be common amongst the 3 MCCs that we're talking to tonight, we've heard about the financial investment that is required to get on that journey. More of that to come later. So, are there any highlights that you want to just particularly hone in on? Like, oh, I remember I had to do these, maybe an upside, maybe a downside, maybe just one.
Yeah. Okay. On the hours, it was very difficult, but I had my eyes on MCC. So what I then did was, when I left my job, any consultancy I had, I would ask if I could also coach along. So that became easy. I was now being paid to coach, because it was very difficult in the early days to get people to pay you to coach. So I was lucky the first half of my coaching career, with the organization using me as a coach and writing it into my job description. And then when I left, my consultancy assignments also had coaching at the back end. So I was able to ramp up the hours, and I had to be intentional, because life gets in the way. So you find yourself wanting to do this, but something else happens and you leave it for a full few months. But then I guess it wasn't really about the race. It wasn't about time. It was just that I needed to be focused and I needed to get there.
That's splendid. Awesome. Okay. I'm pretty sure that I'm just checking in with Charles whether he's on Zoom. I can't see the Slido. I don't want to go and look in the Slido. I want to stay here, present, focused, and fully immersed in our conversation. So Charles, if you could keep an eye on Slido for us and see what's happening with questions, that would be fantastic. Now, I want to talk about ICF credential, ACC, PCC. Now, everybody, please clap for me. I'm a PCC. I feel proud. But what's more important is the MCC. Now, a little bit about what I know of MCC. It's only now that there is an MCC course and exam. A few years ago, there was I don't think there was an exam for MCC, because you needed to have done CKA before you get to that stage. So let's take a little bit of a deep dive into the MCC credential. And let's start with Coach Remi this time. What is most important that particularly fascinated you to say, I want to get there?
Thanks for the question. And for me, I've always felt that anything I do, I should try and be the best at it or achieve the most I can from it. And I remember when I started, when I started coaching, when I started, I'd been coaching for a while, and then I realized that there were so many people that would stand up and say, I'm a coach. And there was nothing, it wasn't like, so someone who studied law, to be a lawyer, you have to go through certain things. And you can't just stand up and say, I'm a lawyer. So, but there was nothing like that in my world and in the world of coaching. And so I thought to myself, well, first of all, I have to look for something that holds a high standard. And I looked at the various bodies, and to me, ICF was the one. And then I explored. I remember exploring the different levels that they had, and I saw the MCC, and I saw how many there were. And at that time, when I was looking at it, there were hardly any. There were only a few. And I looked at those. I looked at what it took at the time to become an MCC, and I saw that there was a lot of rigor required, and it was almost and also there was no clarity on what you needed to do. There was no set formula, and that kind of appealed to me because it meant that there was a challenge, and so if you actually achieve it, then it's worthwhile. And that was really what got it for me. Before I even got my ACC, I had my eye on the fact that I am going to be one day I'm going to get that MCC. So it was never a doubt in my mind that that is where I wanted to go. Now, whether I was going to get it or not, it was a different thing. But I know from the very beginning, I put my eye on that. I want to be an MCC. So even when I became an ACC, I kept on looking at it. So when I started off on that journey, I made sure I had my coach hours book. And I looked at what I needed to do. And so there was coaching that I did. I joined organizations like Coach Hub, Ezra, and so on. I took on all the work that I could take, even the ones that were not paying, that much. I took them on just because I wanted to make sure I had the hours and I wanted to coach. And so I was coaching 3-4 hours a day, a regular basis, just because I wanted to hone that skill. And for me, MCC, it wasn't just about the MCC badge. It was about that coaching mastery and actually getting to that point where, and mastery to me is still it's a journey. When you get your MCC, that doesn't make you a master. It means that you are on the mastery path. And it's something that you continue doing and you evolve and all that. But it also gives you the confidence to do what you want to do and coach how you feel authentically is your way of coaching. So for me, it was the key thing I wanted to get out.
Fascinating. And I just observed, again, in typical coaching fashion, we observe and read body language, and we interpret what people are doing when they nod or shake their head. And I observed Coach Abiola with her body language. So I might want to invite you just now, Coach Abiola, if you can unmute yourself. So same question, but if you can focus on the dedication, the depth, the insights that you had before, during, and after you got your credential.
Okay, thank you. That's a very good question because when I got my certification, it was training in the GROW model. And at that time, I really wanted to ramp up my hours. So I wrote to everyone that I knew, my ex-colleagues at work, family and friends, and told them, look, I'm on this journey of changing my career. I'm going into coaching. I need your support. And I would need you to give me 6 hours of your time over a period of time. And luckily for me, I got a lot of responses and I started coaching. But what I realized was that it wasn't, I knew I was missing something. Even at that stage, I knew there's something that I needed to add to it to make me more confident, to have that, expertise. I just knew in me that I couldn't stop at that. because I'll get into some conversations and I get a sense of being stuck somewhere. So I told myself, you really need to up your game and move forward in this profession to the highest level if you really want to make it a profession. So I started the journey, and for ACC, I could go. I got my hours with that sort of arrangement. Like Abigail said, I also collaborated a lot with training organizations, and I asked for them to give me an opportunity to latch on coaching. I also did collaboration with a few friends. We were doing open trainings, and we also added coaching to it. So that actually gave me the hours for the ACC. Now, I think I got into PCC when I became a faculty with Coachmasters Academy. Now, if you're going to be a trainer and you're a facilitator, making coaches of other people, then you have to be on top of your game. So from that point, I knew I couldn't stop at PCC. I knew I had to go the full hog because I was supervising, I was mentoring, and I really needed to be the best. And that's why I went all the way to MCC.
Awesome. Can you see anybody clapping at all? Unfortunately, I've hidden non-video participants, so I'm not able to see everyone. But do you know what? A few months ago, I said, I'm not going to bother even trying to get to MCC. But listening to these stories tonight, I feel so inspired. I feel like I should just wake up tomorrow morning and start my journey. But I'm not going to be conclusive just yet until I hear Coach Abigail's perspective about MCC in particular. So share with us your own perspective, please, Coach Abigail.
MCC. Would I say it was, I wanted to be MCC because I wanted to be top of my game. And I thought that was the pinnacle. But getting there was very, very tough. In the sense that I saw it as a road to mastery. And as Remi said, you know, it's just the beginning. You're not there yet because you just find that the more you coach, the more things come up. However, when I was on the road to MCC, I found that I was very attached to questions. You know, this looking for these powerful questions. So always reading, looking at questions and all and all and all. And then coaching, and then discovering that in the coaching session, I'd be trying to think where I can put that question in. And then it suddenly occurred to me that I wasn't actually honoring the process. I wasn't observing my clients. Rather, I was looking for the powerful question. So I'll tell you that the day that I knew I would hit MCC was the day I threw away all the questions. And then decided to ask questions in the moment, the right question at the right time. So that's when I got it. And that's when I understood what my mentor coach had been telling me. He was a very strange man. He didn't say very much, but it was at that point I realized that I needed to throw away the questions. Sure, I will go and look at questions, listen to recordings and all, but then that would not be what would propel what I needed to do. What needed to propel what I needed to do would be the clients.
Right, right. Fascinating. So let me move on to another question. I mean, with the time we've got, it's quite limited. And guess what? We could be here till tomorrow morning enjoying our conversation. And we could actually immerse ourselves, but we know that we've got some questions from the audience. I'm going to take one more question from you, and then we'll have a look at what's happening on Slido. And what I want to talk about is competencies. Now, 5-6 years ago, we had core competencies. And as time went by, we had team coaching competencies. And then about 4-6 weeks ago, we had mentor coaching competencies. And guess what? It didn't end there. We also had coaching supervision competencies. So, starting with yourself, Coach Abigail, what do competencies mean to you?
I'd say competencies are actually the guide to how you should move along with your clients. For example, ICF has 8 core competencies, and you notice that every time a new area is brought up, like team coaching and the like, their competencies, the basics that you need to follow to be able to say that you're actually coaching in those domains. That's what I would say in a short form.
Thank you.
Without
That's
delving into
fascinating.
the 8 competencies that exist for core coaching, and then the team coaching competencies and all of those ones. But
Okay.
then definitely, it's important that they are our guide to ensuring that our sessions go the way they should.
Awesome. Coach Abiola.
Yeah, I think just to add a little bit to what Abigail has said, it's just it helps us to appreciate where we are in terms of our coaching muscles. Because if you can demonstrate those competencies, then the likelihood is that we're showing up the way we should with our clients. So we cannot push away those competencies. They actually are the guide, and we need to have strong muscles around those competencies when we are with our clients. Thank you.
Oh, fantastic. And how about you,
Mm.
Remi?
Yes, so I agree with everything that Coach Abigail and Coach Abiola have said. I would say that these competencies are guardrails. So they're the guardrails that we operate within, and they're to stop us from straying over the edge, because coaching is its own thing. It's not therapy. It's it's not mentorship. It's not mentoring. And if you follow those competencies, you will stay within the coaching realm. And I think that's what makes us different from those people that wake up in the morning and say, I'm a coach, because I not work within those guide rails. And the guide rails are there to protect us and to protect the client. And that's why you need to understand, to not just know them, know what they are, but also to understand what they mean and why they're there.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for that insight. Now, we've got a few questions on the Slido just now. And we just want to mix it up a little bit. We'll take one question from the Slido. Now, Charles, are you able to unmute yourself? And yes, Richard, can you enable Charles to unmute and put his camera on, please? Charles is just going to take one question for us, and then we'll come back to the panel. Okay, Richard, over to you with the technical aspect.
All right, good evening, everyone. We have
Hello,
quite
Charles.
a number of interesting questions. Yep, can you hear me? I don't know how
Yes.
visible. All right,
Yeah.
so I have some
I can't,
interesting
yeah, there you go.
questions.
I can see you now. Okay.
Okay,
You're a bit in the shadow though. Okay, that's better.
yeah,
Fantastic.
it's
Yeah,
my lighting.
that's
All
fine.
right, so there's some really powerful questions. Some of the questions are for everyone, and some of the questions are for specific people. So I will just take the specific, and then we'll go to the everyone. So this is a specific question
If we,
for...
sorry, Charles, if we can just take the one question that you've got prioritized, we'll just take the one for now, and then the
okay.
two we could do later.
Well, incidentally, most people didn't vote, but there's just one vote.
Okay.
So the rest. So now the one vote, what are the trends and patterns you're noticing about demand for one-to-one coaching versus team coaching? That's the question.
Who do you want to field that question to first, Charles?
I would ask Abiola to take the shot.
So both interventions have their places when you go for one-to-one and team coaching. But for me as a coach, and based on my experience over the years, I've found that coaching executives and team leads on a one-to-one basis, it sort of has a filter from the team they work with, them understanding the team. And I realized that you cannot get the best from the executive to deliver to the team if he's also not aware about the team dynamics. And that's why for me, when I'm looking at leadership, one-to-one coaching, I tend to ask questions more about their relationship with their team and to see whether there's something I can add to the intervention via team coaching to make it a holistic approach for the organization. Because when we bring in team coaching with executive coaching, then you are really letting the whole system work together towards organizational effectiveness. So I want to say that, yes, executive coaching works very well, but it's even more, has more impact. Coaching has more impact when you work together with the teams alongside the executive. Thank you.
Fascinating. Okay. In Charles's absence, I'm going to pass the question to Remi. Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I think Coach Abiola has said a lot and has actually covered that. I think the only thing I will add to it is that team coaching is becoming quite popular today because the individual one-to-one coaching has been going on for a bit longer in terms of popularity. So people have been doing the one-to-one interventions for a while, and those are working. And those people that it has worked for are now looking at how they can empower their teams. And so they're now doing a lot more work on the on the team coaching side. And people are realizing that you might have good individuals, great individuals, but if those great individuals are not working together, then you won't have you won't have the outcomes that you want, hence the team coaching element. So I think it's becoming the team coaching is becoming a lot more popular. And with organizations like the ICF putting credentials in place, that is also helping this matter. And the credentials themselves are not easy ones to get. So I think I'd say that's my take on that.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Coach Abigail, what's your take?
Yeah, in addition to what they've said, I'll say that, it's almost like one-to-one truly has been around for long. But then in the case of team coaching, it's like a new construct, developing construct, and one that organizations are actually finding very useful because of the fact that it brings the team together and the impact on productivity can actually be enormous where it is properly harnessed.
I quite like a few choice words that I heard there. Productivity, harness. I'm not even going to dwell into them, but do you know when coaches use intentional terminologies, they don't need any explanation at all. The intentionality of what you've said there just resonates with me, and I'm pretty sure that several people in the audience would actually, reflect on those words later on. And it reminds me of what my coach trainer said. Much of what happens in the coaching process is after the session, in between those reflective moments. Those are the periods when you could have the aha moments during the coaching sessions, but a lot of the development takes place afterwards. The productivity, Now, I know we said we were going to take one question, and I think Charles has got an engagement. He did say to me, so I don't know whether he's gone to that engagement now. I've seen one other question on Slido, and it's actually a relatively short question for us to respond to. So if I was to take the question now, I think we can mark this as completed, and that's gone. So the top question we've got here is very simple. To go from PCC to MCC, I know the answer, but I want the master coaches to give the answer. Do you need to hit 2,500 coaching hours, or is it 2,500 less PCC hours in bracket 500 hours? So I'm going to start with Coach Abigail.
It's 2,500 in all. So it's your 500 from PCC plus whatever. And you find that some people actually have more than 500 when they become PCC. So they keep on working at it till they hit the 2,500. But remember, apart from the 2,500, you also have to show that you have been in a setting. I think it's really that you've been trained somehow. So you have to have a number of coach training hours.
Correct.
In addition.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's not just the hours, it's also
fantastic.
The coach training hours.
Thank you. And Coach Abiola, what would you like to add to that?
I think, yes, that's right. But I'm not sure whether there is a time frame where the 2,500 would count. I'm not very sure whether there is a time frame at all. But yes, it's cumulative.
And we can go to Coach Remi because he was just making some body language. So let's hear that body language.
I've not seen any time frame for the 2,500 hours. It is from when you've done your first ICF course. So when you do your first recognized ICF course, you start counting the hours from there. It's 2,005 hours, so 2,500 hours from ACC, PCC to MCC. Also, you have to be a PCC to go ahead and become an MCC. So I think I saw a question in Slido which asked about whether you just, I think it was actually addressed to you, Mrs. Isokpna. It was that you just emerged as an MCC. So there's a question there about that. But no, you have to actually go, to actually become a PCC, you have to become an MCC, you have to be a PCC first, in good standing. Also, you need the coaching hours. I think it's 100 and something. You have to have done 100 and something coaching hours. Training hours, coach specific training hours to get it. And now there is, now I think over the last year, and that was the route I went through, there is now a level 3 coaching course that you can, so you can do a level 3 coaching course, which is for MCC, which is specifically and meets the requirements for MCC because it must have the supervisory hours, which is the 20 hours of supervision that you need to become an MCC, and that's level 3 coaching course will do it. Or you can do a level 2 coaching course. So you could go ahead and do another coaching course, but then you'd have to do your you'll get your supervision, your mentor and supervisory hours separately. But if you do a level 3 course, that should come with it. And then, of course, you have the dreaded 2 calls that you have to submit. And basically what those are, you have to submit calls that are maximum of an hour, 2 calls that meet the MCC standard. Yeah, the markers, the MCC markers, and those 3 have to be recorded. You have to record them. There can be no break in that recording. It has to be a full recording, and you submit that to. So unlike PCC, where your school, the training school where you go to, where you do your wherever you do your training, they are the ones that actually mark it and say, yes, this is passed or not. With the MCC, it's not like that. It has to go back to the ICF and then the MCC level accreditors will actually review your calls and then decide whether they pass or fail, and both have to pass for you to actually do it. And then once you get the notification that your calls have been approved, and to be honest, well, what I found and the thing I've got from speaking to all the other MCCs is the calls. You know, getting the hours might be hard, it might be laborious, but it's the calls, getting your calls. That's where the hard work. That's the hardest part. I won't say that's where the hard work is, because everything is hard. It's hard work, but that's the part that you have to do to get those 2 calls passed. And then once you're told that those 2 calls are passed, and it takes 18 weeks from when you submit your calls for them to actually come back with the feedback. Once both have passed, then you still have to do the coach credential exam. So there are a number of steps to do it.
Wow, fascinating. I want to touch on a word that I heard, and if I can reframe it to you, the word I heard was dreaded. Coach Remi?
Yes. Well, I say dreaded, and maybe I'm over dramatizing it. I don't know if my colleagues will think. The reason why I say dreaded is because it is not it is very subjective. Passing it is very subjective, and we all have to do it. We all have mentors, and we all have supervisors and so on. And you can submit these. So what you do is you do the recording, you do the transcripts, and then you submit, and then you will give it to your supervisor. Your supervisor will tell you whether they agree that it is good enough for your presentation or not. And in my case, I found that it was an art, not a science. You could not say this formula. So, I would do some and they would say, you didn't meet competency 1 in this, you didn't meet competency 1 and competency 4 in this particular recording. And then I would do another recording, and then competency 1 and 4 are good, and 2 and 3 are, not there. And it kept on going in that loop. And so it became really, really hard. And because you're aware, there have to be real live calls with something that you're actually coaching. And so there's also the element of you being aware that you're trying to meet this standard, and you're trying to keep it natural and all of those kind of things. So because there was no science behind it, there's no formula that can say, if I do this, and this, my call will pass. That is why I think a lot of MCCs say it is dreaded. And then also there's a pool. It's only MCCs that are what they call it, that are reviewing this.
Right.
So also, there's subjectivity there from them too, and they're human beings. So that's why I would say dreaded. But I don't know if my colleagues will actually agree that it's dreaded or not.
In a typical fashion, I observed some acknowledgement and head movements. Coach Abigail, at one point I heard you say,
Yes, I was just remembering the number of times I sent recordings to my mentor coach, and the number of times he sent them back to me, and the number of times I would think I had done a wonderful job, and he would say, he'd give me reasons why he didn't think he met the mark. And then sometimes when I didn't even think I did anything at all, he would say it was good. And then I kept on saying to myself, something's not right here. But then I just kept on trugging along. And then I realized that maybe one of the things I needed to do, and that's why I say the road to mastery really is about you actually acknowledging your client and taking cognizance of every nuance of that person as you go. I think it was when I came to that realization that I was able to actually begin to record things that he felt were okay.
I want to hold on to one word that I heard there, acknowledging. But I'm not going to expand further on acknowledging. I'll come back to it in a minute when I hear from Coach Abiola in just about a minute or so. I just wish we had half a day for this conversation. And that would not be enough.
So in 1 minute, I think that the journey towards mastery at MCC, it's a total shift in the way you coach. And it has to be a mindset shift. Once you don't get that mindset shift, your recordings keeps coming back. So I had that experience. It took quite a while before I got it. And in getting it, you yourself would know that there is a marked difference between the way you were coaching at PCC and the way you coach at MCC. So
Wow.
those trying times, as you put it, they are worth it because it helps you to get grounded and to really understand what mastery really means. Thank you.
Fantastic. Before I come to acknowledging the word I heard, I actually just want to share, display my vulnerability here. About half an hour ago, I said, wow, I'm looking forward to MCC. Now I'm beginning to think, Femi, you got no hair left on your head. Me and Remi, the same. Do I really want to go down that route? Because, but hey, I know it's worth it. Now, speaking of acknowledging, first of all, I want to acknowledge the president of ICF Nigeria Charter Chapter, Akanimo Ekong. He can give us a wave because he's not spotlighted. I also want to acknowledge, I mentioned his name earlier on, the president of ICF South Africa Charter Chapter, and his name is Tsietsi Telite. And Tsietsi has actually said, Femi, I'm coming to one of your sessions in the next quarter. So watch this space. I also want to have an acknowledgement for Dumi Magdalena. He is the chairperson of ICF Global Enterprise Board. Now, please give them a big round of applause. Now, when this board, the current board, was inaugurated, I think majority, if not all the board members of the current ICF Nigeria Charter Chapter were inaugurated earlier this year. We campaigned on one mandate, and our mandate is that we want to lift ICF Nigeria Chapter first and foremost, but Africa chapters to the global level, that in the next, I was going to say 10 years, but let me change it to in the next 5 years, we want to have someone from Africa being the president. Is that the title of ICF Global Board? Tsietsi can correct me, or Dumi can correct me. But it's our turn, and we have to claim that title. It will not be offered to us. We have to do what you are doing tonight to elevate, to demonstrate the capability, and then our rightful entitlement will be given to us. And I hope everybody agrees with me. We have to work collaboratively and lift up Africa chapters. Thank you. Now, wow, do I have time for one more question? Charles.
Yep.
What do we have?
Okay. I think a lot of people are interested in team coaching.
Right.
Okay. But I'll ask, okay, the voting is now putting everyone at par. Okay, okay, so this question is it's all on team coaching, but for Abigail, and there's a tie. Did you go from zero to hero? In other words, were you an ACC or PCC first, or you went straight to MCC? Wow, curious question.
I think we've actually answered it, but the fact is that you can't go from ACC to MCC. So I went through ACC, PCC, and then MCC. Yeah.
Okay. So how long did the ACTC credential take? You can then.
I don't think it's really about time, because what happened was that I had the hours for PCC. So I went and got ACC, and then a colleague of mine from the same coaching school that I went to, because we did 153 hours of training, said to me, why did you do ACC? You could have gone straight to PCC. So I then quickly applied for PCC because I had the hours of training plus the hours of coaching for PCC. So I did, so that it was like it was compressed somehow.
Okay, yeah, but for ACTC, there's the criteria.
ACC.
No, ACTC.
Sorry. And that's the team coaching.
Yes.
Team coaching. Okay. Yeah. So what was the question? Sorry, I thought you were
How
talking
long did it take to get the ACTC badge?
Oh, okay. That was about 4 years. But you know what had happened is I had been doing it, not realizing that that was what I was doing. Then I went to do the training. So it was a combination of both, the prior and the training, and then all the coaching from the different companies.
Okay, how about Abiola? How did it work for you?
Okay, so for me, I started my journey by attending the training first, because as I said, I saw a little bit of a need in that area. So I went for a basic training in team coaching before COVID. After COVID, I realized that I needed some more training, and then I went for another coaching with a training institute in Dubai. I did that. Then over the period of 3 years, I completed the training, and then I went for supervision. So you need to go for supervision again to be able to crown your skills. And then you had an exam that you really had to do, just as difficult as the MCC exams, because I had to take the exams for MCC as well. So that's the journey. It was over a period of about 3.5 years.
Okay, so what took the time? Was it so it's not the training that took the time, because I mean, it was getting the certification.
No, I think the training did for me, because I first of all did a 9 months training. It was a monthly thing, and then I also then went for a short course. The Dubai course was shorter. It was just for 1 month, and then we had the supervision for 6 weeks, I think.
Wow, thank you so much for that. Our time is going very fast. We are all done with questions on Slido, I believe. Charles, I think we're all done.
That is correct.
Thank you so much. I'm going to have rapid fire questions. And I know that we don't have yes or no close questions in coaching, but in the interest of time, I want to do some very rapid fire questions. First question. So one question per person, and that's it. First question to Remi. Integration of AI technology into your coaching, yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Next question to Coach Abigail. Client retention and client referrals, does that work for you, yes or no?
Yes.
Fantastic. And then one final question for Coach Abiola. Fixed mindset or growth mindset, which works for you? You're on mute.
Growth mindset.
Oh, fantastic. Now, everybody, please give our panelists a massive round of applause, and kindly also applaud Coach Charles for anchoring the questions. We could have gone all night with more questions, but unfortunately, we need to go through the feedback session. So let's head back to Mentee and just 1 or 2 questions for us, please. Okay, so the code is the same as before, 6593514. When you join Mentee, just give me a thumbs up to let me know that everyone's there. Okay, are you there yet? I can't see reactions. 1, yes, thank you. Give you more time to join us on Mentee, 65935214. More reactions, 1 person's there. Are there more people? 2, 3, 4? Getting more and more people now. I'm not going to move until I hit 20. There are 42 of us here. So we should get at least half on Menti. So in typical fashion, as coaches, we thrive on feedback. Your feedback on this fireside chat is quite important for us. First question. What are your key takeaways from today's fireside chat? Fingers on the buzzer. Let's hear your responses. You can type as many responses as you want.
I think some people are asking for the code on the, so can you type that in again?
It's 6593. Let me go back. Oh, I can't go back. It's 6593. It's in the chat, actually, from before. 6593, 5214, I believe.
Oh, 659, sorry,
593.
Yeah.
5214.
4 is the code. Okay.
Thank you. Keep the feedback coming, please. It's a worthy journey. It needs time for certification. Sometimes I disagree with things in life, but this is one thing I cannot disagree with. Coach Remi said something earlier. It's a journey. And everybody is at different stops on their journey. There is no set duration for everyone. It takes time. MCC coaches are not so aloof. Oh, the person's just kidding. Honestly, they're just human. Yeah, they just happen to get on the motorway before everybody else. Yeah. Keep focused. What else have we got here? It's a journey, just like I was saying. It's a journey that continues to surprise and provide new dynamics every time one gets involved. Even though MCCs are master certified coaches, I know because I actually do a lot of work with other coaches myself. The master in MCC does not mean that you are now on top of the world. In fact, I could advocate for ICF to change it to mastery because it's a continuous practice, never ending. And I can see a lot of head movements there. Be real and be true to yourself. It's worth the effort and the journey, and it's never ending. Thank you so much. And lastly, we'd like to do a satisfaction survey. How would you rate today's fireside chat? Keep it coming, please. Authentic responses. Thank you. Thank you. Keep it coming. Thank you. Keep it coming. We got 30 seconds to go. Keep it coming, please. The Menti code is in the chat. Thank you. And I'm going to say going, going, going. 10 more seconds. Thank you for your feedback. And this is the point that we just want to say thank you from Menti. Don't go yet, please, because we've just got to round up from here. So we've done that. So thank you so much, everyone. I know some people have had to leave due to prior commitments. We just want to round up by sharing with you just a little bit more about ICF Nigeria. specifically, but ICF in general. If you want to know a little bit more about the education and the credential side of things, I'm the Director of Education and Credentialing Support for ICF Nigeria Charter Chapter, and that's my email address. You can reach out to me. And if by any chance you haven't yet joined this chapter, and it's your heartfelt desire that I want to join this particular chapter, none other in Africa, please drop an email to membership@icfnigeria.org. And at this point, we would like to thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your participation. And thank you for the words of wisdom, words of knowledge, and sharing by our ICF MCC esteemed coaches. So this is the point that we're going to call it curtains and have a safe trip to wherever you have to go, even if it's downstairs in your house. We're going to end the session now. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now so that people can go and have their dinner if it's not too late. It's only 7:30 where I am now, and I can smell the wonderful meal that my wife is cooking downstairs. So I'm going to have to ask to take a leave of you all. I'm going to ask my MCC panelists just to stay behind for a few minutes. AK, you can stay behind. I think Charles is logged off. And have a good evening, everyone. It's been such a wonderful pleasure spending the evening with you. Thank you so much, and have a good evening.